And that's for me and you. Roope and Rumsey is their name. Chat about things from the latest game. Roope and Rumsey, oh Roope and Rumsey. It's time for Roope and Rumsey. The boys.
All right. Well, thank you once again to the magical and mystical Terry Hahn. We will be getting him on, I promise, Terry, soon, so we can have the live on the set.
We keep talking about him.
We need to get him on.
Does he exist?
I know. I've never met the guy. So, well, listen, guys. Welcome to the R&R Show. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the best little sports show ever. I'm your host, Michael Roope, and this is my co-host, William Rumsey. Hello, William.
Howdy.
All right. Well, today's show, again, we've got another great show for you. We've got the top 5 What the F moments.
Oh.
So this can be good, bad, ugly, whatever where you like, what the... So, I mean, again, a lot of fun doing this list. William came up with the idea for this list. And,
some dad.
Yeah, well, it was a lot of fun. You know, I was resisting.
So does that mean you've come up with every other?
No, not by any means. But I kind of resisted at first on this list, but you got me to come around, and once I started to get into it, it was a lot of fun. So, what do you got for your number 5, buddy?
So I kind of went back in the Rolodex of my memories, and the first one that's popped into my head, kind of the first introduction to Cincinnati sports, actually the Bengals, and how they just break your heart.
Yep.
So it was the '89 Super Bowl.
Okay.
Bengals were winning. You know, I was like, oh man, the Bengals are going to win the Super Bowl. I was 9 years old. I was like, man, this is how it is. Joe Montana drove them down the field, threw the touchdown pass to win, and I was heartbroken. And have been ever since with the Bengals.
Well, as a youngster, you know, you had your hopes up high. I'm a little older than you, and I unfortunately knew that was going to happen when Montana got out. I was like, there's no way that
Montana.
Yeah.
But
well, and just to piggyback off of you, kind of going off, and it did make my list, but I remember their first Super Bowl. You were. I don't even know if you were.
I was
one. Yeah. So when Pete Johnson got stuffed, and then they passed it, so they got stuffed at the 1 yard line 4 times.
Oh man.
Which was really heartbreaking. But that's actually my second football memory ever was that Super Bowl.
Yeah. And I always think I always get triggered when they start talking about that game and they talk about Joe Montana in the huddle saying, "Oh, there's John Candy."
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that makes me want to puke.
Well, they had a chance. If Lewis Billups intercepts that ball, we don't even talk about that. Which it's always the near misses for the Bungles, huh?
And I was just looking at this game, just researching a little bit. The halftime show. Do you remember the halftime show of that game?
I do not.
It was Elvis impersonators.
Man, those halftime shows. I do remember. I'm a big historian, and the halftime shows early on were really brutal. They were marching bands, or like you said, Elvis impersonator. Yeah. I mean, they were really brutal. It wasn't even remotely what it is today.
I was like, Elvis Presto was the name of the show.
Oh man, that is brutal. So good, but bad moment, but a memorable one for sure. Number 5 for me, it's kind of a dual number 5, and it's kind of you cheated on the last segment. So this number 5, I'm just going to call it the Monday Night Football What the F moments. The first one, I was 10 years old, and this was when LT snaps Joe Theismann's leg. I remember watching it live as a kid. I mean, when I tell you that I was glued to the set for every game that was on TV as a kid watching football, that was me. I could not inhale enough football, and I remember watching that live. LT was like an idol of mine as a kid, and when he snapped Joe Theismann's leg and they showed that, I was like, holy, I go, what the, But that was a crazy moment. And then the other moment, which in my eyes was even more gruesome, on Monday Night Football. Do you remember? How old were you in '85, by the way?
5.
So 5. So you probably don't remember that. I know you've seen it since.
I've watched it exactly one time.
Yeah.
I watched it the first time. I was like, I never need to see that again.
Yeah, do me a favor, watch it again.
No.
The other one for me is the Napoleon McCallum. Have you ever seen that? Do me a favor, watch it. This happened in '94. I am as you probably have heard on some of the previous episodes, I am a closet Raiders fan. That is my
Napoleon Kaufman?
McCallum.
Oh.
No, McCallum. Yeah, there was two Napoleons, but this Napoleon McCallum is on Monday night. He gets the ball. And it's against the 49ers. He goes up into the pile. And he has his leg planted, and his leg is stuck in the ground, and Ken Norton hits him, and his whole body is a complete 180, while his knee and foot is pointed this way, his body is pointed the whole other way. It is absolutely one of the most gruesome injuries I've ever seen. Definitely, if you got a stomach, check that out, because I was like, what the, I remember Dan Deerdorf was like, oh my God, it was like, don't watch that if you don't, if you're squeamish. So, but go ahead.
I think just to kind of tack on to that, one of the worst ones that I saw was the Ware kid from Louisville.
Yeah, that was absolutely, woo! Yeah.
That was,
I think that thing was probably, and when I started talking about it, I thought about that because, that one sticks out in the more recent memory. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's a good segue to NCAA basketball.
Okay.
So my next one was Chris Webber's timeout.
Yes.
I was a monster Fab Five.
I think we all were.
I mean, they were the cool kids on the block.
If you were in our age bracket and you didn't love
the black Nike
Fab
socks and just the baggy shorts.
The baggy shorts, it made it cool.
Yeah, and I still have the Chris Webber jersey.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but I was obsessed with them. What's funny is I fell asleep. I think I was still kind of young, so my parents taped it for me, and I watched it the next morning.
Yep.
My mom knew how big of a fan I was. She's like, I'm just not going to tell you, watch it. And I remember watching the tail end of that, and I was like, what just happened?
Yes.
And I was so disappointed.
Was that against North Carolina?
Numbers.
Was that against Montrose?
North Carolina. I can't.
I think it was Montrose.
It might have been in that, but I was just like, what just happened?
Oh man, the Fab Five was just. I mean, and Weber was the centerpiece of that crew. So yes, that's a good. That's a
And now Weber's one of the better NBA announcers.
Well,
they got going.
He's on his personality. You're always you just feel better when you're listening to Weber. So my number 4 moment. Again, you were a baby when this happened. Was the 1982 snowplow game? Do you even know what that is?
No.
This is before the Patriots were the Patriots, but they were always bending the rules.
Oh.
So in this 82 snowplow...
So this dates back to pre-Belichick.
Yes, it does. The 82 snowplow game, which it is known as, is more of a... it was a sweeper, one of those little carts to sweep where it sweeps. Well, as the story goes, they were playing the Dolphins, which ended up being Super Bowl bound Dolphins that year. And the Patriots were terrible. Meaningless game again for them. But the weather, really, New England weather came in, freezing rain. It froze the whole field, and then it started snowing after. The field conditions were brutal. No offense whatsoever. The score is 0-0 with about 4 minutes to go. The Patriots kind of got down a little bit. Well, again, the field's iced over, then snow on top, so there was hardly any way to get any traction nor any kind of a field goal or anything. Well, during a TV timeout, the snowplow comes on, and they were only supposed to do the sidelines. Well, they come out in the middle of the field and sweep up a little spot for the holder and the kicker. Don Shula is going absolutely ballistic.
That's great.
The Patriots end up kicking the field goal, win 3-0 as what's known as the snowplow game.
That's pretty.
Yes.
I would, the snow snow game that I think of is the
Charles Woodson.
The Brady fumble.
Yeah, the Charles Woodson. Yeah, he's the one that caused the fumble. Yep.
Yeah.
So
the tuck rule.
The tuck rule. So again, the Patriots have always, they're known as a more of a cheating franchise. And remember, if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
That's true. So, the slimiest thing the Patriots ever did was tape the Bengals.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
Where do you go from
there?
The
Bengals.
Yeah.
So, but it's a snowplow game. If you haven't, if you don't know or familiar with that, check that out on
that's
YouTube.
Very cool.
So go ahead. What do you got for number 3?
So number 3, I have Mr. Carson Palmer blew out his knee in the 2005.
Man, you got a Bengals theme here.
I do. They're probably on there a few more times. But that one was just, the Bengals, obviously the 90s were just, for the Bengals, was just terrible times. So they first, they drafted Carson Palmer, brought Marvin Lewis in. We're excited. They're back in the playoffs. First damn play from scrimmage, Palmer blows against the Steelers, blows his knee out, and then Chris Henry goes out too. Kitten comes in, rest is history.
Yes, that was
that's when I knew the Bengals were cursed.
Well, and they are, because they've had a couple years where it really set up good for them to make the Super Bowl, and that was one of the years. Their offense was really humming from inside out.
Yeah, so that a lot of people would think maybe the Jeremy Hill fumble, which is more recent, but in my mind, I knew they were going to lose that game. Yeah. Somehow, in my mind, it didn't shock me. It wasn't like what. It was more like, I knew that was coming.
Yeah. That was a tough pill to swallow, and that was after the heels of a big contract for him.
Yes, it was.
Which made that sting even a little bit more. Yeah. That was definitely a memorable what the F moment. Number 3 for me is back in March of 2001 in a meaningless minor league baseball game, one Randy Big Unit Johnson uncorks a 100-mile-per-hour fastball and implodes a poor unsuspecting dove. Now, if you guys have not seen this, I encourage you. It's one of the true sights to behold as Randy Johnson unleashes a 100-mile-per-hour fastball. A dove flies right in front of the hitter and catcher. And when I say implodes, it looks like a David Copperfield. It literally disintegrated a poor dove. Now, again, if you haven't seen it, please check that out. Now, a little trivia time.
For me?
Yes. Do you know who the batter was that stepped in the box against the Big Unit?
I do not.
It's a little trivia, and this would be a hard one.
It's a little obscure.
Well, you wouldn't get this, but it's a fun little side note that you could win some bar bets on. The hitter was Calvin Murray, which is the uncle of Kyler Murray.
Oh.
That's a little bar bet, yeah.
Very nice.
So, so that was a memorable moment for me, because I remember as a youngster just looking at it, I was like, oh my God, what just happened? I mean, what am I watching here? So, go ahead. What you got for your number 2, buddy?
So number 2, October 9th, 2010.
Okay.
So the Bengals played earlier in the day, and the Reds were in a playoff game against the Phillies that night. So went to B-Dubs, I think in Harrison, to watch the Bengals game. It was against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bengals got absolutely screwed in that game. They got called for a roughing the passer penalty that was terrible. They ended up losing. And I was with Jared Brandt. Brandt was, drinking a little bit. So then we were going,
you're kidding me.
Yeah, we were going to the Reds game. So we actually went to the playoff game.
Okay.
So the opening game of the Reds, they got no hit by Doc Halladay.
Yeah.
But it was a night game. Cole Hamels was going. I can't even remember who was pitching for the Reds. Cole Hamels did not allow a runner past second base.
Yeah, and we thought that was the year too.
I just was like, that whole day, I just looked back and I was like, what the just happened?
Hey, that was supposed to be a crown jewel in Cincinnati.
The Reds were, getting good again after I think they struggled pretty well in the 90s again, so they were getting back into the play, or 2000s as well. Not the 90s, but the 2000s.
Yeah.
And
that series, I know the Reds had a lot of high hopes, and They didn't even get like a hit hardly.
No, it was terrible.
Because Halliday hit some Hamels, mowed him down. It's like you really thought. I knew the rest players was like, "What the F just happened?"
Yeah, and then I think it wasn't the next year is when Cueto got hurt.
Yeah,
I think that next year was the team.
Yeah,
or was it the year before?
They had like a 3 or 4 year good run in there that that was when Votto's in his early prime years. So
but Hamels just mowed him down.
Yeah,
I was like, what is going on?
Yep. So that's a not so great moment again. I think that's kind of where our thing.
I think there's a picture floating around out there that day of Brant burning a Bengals.
We'll have to see if we can dig that up. My number 2 moment is March 9th of 2000.
Oh.
Why is this day important for Cincinnati? It is the day that basically broke all of us beloved Bearcats' hearts. That is the day Kenyon Martin broke his leg. And you know what? If you're a Bearcat fan or just a Cincinnati fan in general, that day will live in infamy because that was the year for the Bearcats. And obviously the Bearcats have won some titles right after Oscar left back to back there. But boy, for us, youngsters or middle-aged people, that was the team that.
Are we middle-aged?
I think we're middle-aged now. But boy, the Bearcats were such a good team. They were 29-2 going into that quarterfinal game against St. Louis. And Martin breaks his leg a couple minutes in, and they just beat that St. Louis team a week prior by like 40-something points.
Oh, man.
They ended up losing after he broke his leg. They lose to that team. Then they add insult to injury. I don't know if you remember this. They ended up getting screwed out of a number 1 seed, and they were 29-2 going into that conference play. So then they drops them down to a number 2 seed. Then they get quickly bounced in the second round.
Oh wow!
That was
a brutal stretch.
It snowballed real quick. And they again.
Somehow I wasn't a big Bearcats fan. I mean, I'm a big IU fan. So I think if my memory serves me correct, I think IU went to the title game that year.
Is that with Jared Jeffries?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeffries and Coverdale. I think it was Mike Davis's first year because I remember they fired Bobby, and it was Mike Davis's first year, and he took him to the title game against Maryland.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that hurt. That still stings today because, boy, wouldn't we be loved to wave some Bearcat banners?
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, you guys are number 1.
And I guess this is a Bengals theme, but so September 13th, 2009, we were at Paul Brown Stadium. My brother, me, and Sticky Hands, Jonathan Blackburn. They were playing the Broncos.
Uh-huh.
The Bengals were up, I can't remember what the score was, but they were up with just a few seconds left. Kyle Orton throws a pass to Brandon Marshall, who is triple covered, bounces off Leon Hall's hand right into Brandon Stokely's hand, and he rumbles for a 87-yard touchdown.
I remember that.
So we were there, and I just remember us again walking out of that stadium like, what the hell just happened? And the memory that I'll never forget is Sticky Hands removed his jersey, and he was dragging it through mud puddles. In the car, he was dragging it through mud puddles. I'll never forget that as long as I live.
That's I do, and that's so funny is I remember that play.
Yeah,
that was one of those quirky plays that should have never happened.
We were sitting there watching it.
Stokely was in the right place at the right time for the carom. So that was a again Bengals theme. My number 1 moment. We've talked about this several times. Mm-hmm. I simply refer to it as the Bengals playoff implosion.
Yeah.
Basically give you guys at home and I know that you guys know the story. A minute 36 left. Bengals have the victory in hands, and then the implosion happens. Jeremy Hill fumbles, which then leads into the perfect, penalty for the hit, and then also the Pac-Man unsportsmanlike. And you sprinkle in that with, earlier in the game, the non-touchdown Martavis Bryant where he's juggling all the way out.
Yeah.
I mean, and in Big Ben, he's not even in the play that throws the interception to get Hill to the fumble because he has a lame arm. And, that Landry guy, he throws the pick, and then, Big Ben with his lame arm comes back to we are talking about a major implosion. and literally after that minute and 36 came off the clock, I was just basically left there wondering what the F.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what I just witnessed, but that still hurts. I know it hurts for all Bengals fans out there.
That team was set up.
It was. I think that was the. Once again, we say that was a good team. They were well rounded. The receiving core was deep. That line was awesome.
Yep.
That defense was awesome. I mean, that was a good team.
Yeah, really good.
But that still hurts, and basically, it still stings today.
Now, see, you and I have been having conversations whether we want to just do an episode dedicated to that game, but I think it hurts too much to rehash it. Fully.
And the funny thing is, I usually don't let my emotions come out on Facebook. More family stuff. But that's the one time I do remember. Man, I was just so just pissed off. Oh man, I was angry, and I was like, all the calls just seemed they all like stacked against the Bengals.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just it hurt. It made me sick days after. Like I still wanted to. I wanted to write a book about it.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I wanted
we can do a show. Let's
do it. My God, people were angry. We were all like basically there for each other, sympathizing. Everybody wanted to spout what they saw on the games, and it was terrible. Any honorable mentions before?
Ken Griffey Jr. getting traded to the Cincinnati Reds.
Yes.
We all loved Griffey growing up. We thought he was the greatest thing ever. And when he was actually traded, it was almost surreal. Like, did that just happen?
Yeah, because Cincinnati teams typically never got the quote-unquote great superstar free agent. And this was he wasn't a free agent, but we traded. But we never do those kind of things. Yeah. And, man, that was awesome.
Yeah.
The buzz in the city.
Do you know who we traded for him?
I think
Pokey Reese was in that deal.
Yeah, he's a
great
defensive.
I think it was Pokey Reese, Mike Cameron. I can't remember who else.
Cameron, I do know.
Whatever it was, they didn't get enough.
Well, listen, Griffey, it ended up not working out because the injury bug hit him. He had that first year was, Griffey-like, but
after
that, it was injury. So I did have one honorable mention, and you probably don't remember this, but some of the viewers at home may. 1988. I was always, even a kid, I always watched the Reds religiously with my grandmother on TV because they were always on Channel 5.
Yep.
Always watched them. In 1988, the infamous Dave Pallone incident. Do you know who Dave Pallone is?
I do not.
This is where Pete Rose was the then manager of the Cincinnati Reds. There was a close call at the end of the game. John Franco's on the mound. There was a call at the first base where Dave Pallone doesn't make a call right away, which then subsequently let the Mets score another run. Pete Rose goes flying out, all right, to argue. Well, he's sitting there doing this.
Was he still a player, coach at that time? Or
I think he's just coach at this point. So he's sitting there arguing. Well, Dave Pallone starts to argue back. Well, when he's doing that, he pokes Pete in the eye. Pete goes nuts and is like, shoves the ump. I think I kind of remember, yeah. He shoves the ump a couple times, incites the crowd. Mayhem breaks out. The whole crowd starts just winging stuff on the field. This was like basically, close to a riot. And they basically take the players off the field. Pete Rose gets suspended for 30 games. Wow. And I remember it was a big deal, obviously. And I remember Ken Brew, when he was on Channel 5, with none other than Jerry Springer as the anchor. But Ken Brew was the sports guy for Channel 5 at that time. And he wore a black rose for 30 days, to mourn Pete Rose's suspension. Because a lot of people thought...
That's cool.
Yeah, a lot of people thought Pete Rose was, not wrong. But I just remember thinking like, what the F is going on? Like, because you never see a manager go that nuts, but Pete shopping that. But if you haven't seen that, go check that out on YouTube. The Dave Pallone incident with Pete Rose.
Very nice.
All right, guys, let us know where your top 5 What the F moments are. We'd love to hear from you guys. Thanks.